Hello everyone, and welcome back to Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. I was looking at Trilogy and trying really hard not to say Trilogy. Let's see here. I still need to go back and see why that's like that. I probably didn't save after the credits. That's probably what it was. Probably like stopped recording and then just left it up for like an hour and then forgot to do the save thing and just cut it off. Because I'm not smart. Anyway. It's been... When did I record last? It's been a few days. The day after I recorded last time. I thought I went back and... Anyway, that's fine. I just gotta fly to Brio. Yeah. Yeah. Crap, I hit the B button. I really didn't take the time to compose myself before starting this set, and there's a good reason for that. Friday, my copy of Majora's Mask 3D came in, and I started playing that immediately. Actually, no, I didn't. Not immediately. I actually played online with a friend for a while, something else. But, I jumped into it late that night, didn't even get the first temple done. By the time I got around to it. But once I started it was over. I spent all weekend just immersed in that world again. And I just finished it like less than half an hour ago. Certainly not done with the game. Got all the masks, not all the heart pieces, but I went ahead and did the final boss because it's a lot easier to grind heart pieces when you've got the Fierce Deity mask to just like trample bosses. For those of you unfamiliar with the remake, as far as some of the changes they made, they streamlined the Bomber's Notebook. They basically, instead of just boiling it down to what, if I remember right, it's been so long since I played the original. I say so long. It's been like 4 or 5 years maybe since I played the original, and I can't remember exactly out of the Bomber's Notebook, but I know that it's a lot more. What are words? They're hard. That's what words are. It's a lot more in detail, and I'm sure purists will consider that pandering. But whatever. People are gonna find things to complain about. I love the remake. I experienced Majora's Mask late. Very late. Like I said, 4 or 5 years ago, that was my first real playthrough of it. I never played the N64 version. I never had it. Never played the N64 version of Ocarina, for that matter. My first experience with both of those titles, which I've mentioned before, I think, was actually the collector's disc that came with the Wind Waker demo on it. I think it was a pre-order. I think it was like a pre-order bonus, or if you pre-ordered Wind Waker, you got it. I don't know. I can't remember. It's not mine. it's a friend of mine's who just was not into Zelda. I don't know how he had it. I borrowed it once. And I'm like, and after a while, I'm like, "Do you want this back?" And he's like, "Not really." Okay. There's the one with it had Zelda 1 and 2, and then Ocarina and Majora's Mask on it. And that was my first experience with any of those games. I was in middle school. Yeah, I was in maybe even elementary school. I don't know. It was around the same time. I remember it was around the same time that Prime started happening, and I never got into Majora. Tried to really hard because I remember it interested me more. Oops. And by that I mean it's not that Ocarina didn't. Ocarina was a little spread out, and I know that sounds like a really weird issue to have with any kind of game, but I guess I was just really fascinated with Clock Town, and just the sense of, you know, being able to follow these people during their everyday lives for these 3 days, and I don't know, I didn't really get into it until a few years. Really, I can't remember where I'd recently replayed Ocarina and finished it, and John was on me about Majora, and I'm like, I've tried, and I really would love to, and he's like, well, he's like, I feel bad for telling you this, but emulate it, because the disc is known to have a lot of weird issues. With Ocarina, it was mainly just audio, but with Majora, some things functioned weird. So I did. I emulated it. I played it through, and fell in love with it. Really fell in love with the world. Even though I kept messing things up, and some of the side quests were frustrating because they're so time specific. But at the same time, I tried really hard to look up as little as possible, except for like dungeons and stuff. But like with the side quest stuff, I tried to look up as little as possible. And okay, fine. Just really got lost in this world. All of the people. It's just great. And the remake has it like I said, it streamlined the Bomber's Notebook. As far as including times, you can set alarms for quests and stuff like that. But it's kind of, it could be, if Vinny said it was kind of hand-holdy, I didn't really get that impression from it. It would hold your hand if you wanted it to. But it didn't like go out of its way to, like, whenever you met a new person who had an issue, that it would register them in the notebook, and that would just kind of give you like a little heads up that you had to do something with them and you'd get something out of it, whether it was just rupees or whatever. But it never really, it didn't like go out of its way to say, you're doing it wrong, do this. So there was that. The Song of Double Time, you can, within the day, you can jump forward to any hour instead of just, what the heck? Oh, these things, really? No, I'm not dealing with this right now. Unless it's locked the doors, which it probably has. I'm not dealing with, nope, you go away. No. I am scanning you for the sake of scanning you, and then no. Why am I here? I have gone past why I'm here, actually. Whatever. There's stuff to do back here, I think. No, there's not. By using the shortcut, I went past where I'm supposed to be going. Oops. Oh well. Anyway. Biphasoid. Hey, I got past him. Oh god, there's more of them. Sorry. Those things really bug me. Oh my god, they're everywhere. I don't remember them being everywhere, not here. I remember them in the Thor jungle, but I don't remember them here. Oh, get me out. I want out. Anyway, just saying. Yeah, the Song of Double Time can be used to go forward to, like, a particular hour instead of just going to night and then next day. That makes a lot of the side quests a lot easier. Specifically, the Anju thing. I cannot remember his name. But Anju and her man-child. That side quest was made a lot easier. Also, they retooled the save system. Originally, you could only save when going back in time. I've got to melt that first. Crap. I thought he was going to do that. Originally, you could only save when you were going back in time. Or you could save in an owl statue and quit. But you couldn't, like, use that as a go back and try again. Where now you only save at statues. There's a few more scattered. You like save at owl statues, and then there's a few more statues that are scattered around that you can't warp to, but you can save to. Save at. So, they've streamlined a lot of things. And again, purists are going to whine about that, but it was done. I can understand why it was done. It was done because with the mindset of this is a mobile game now. It's on a handheld. And it's things that probably would not have been implemented had it been ported to Wii U or remade for Wii U instead. But I really like it on the 3DS. They already had the since they already pretty much had the engine in place with Ocarina, they could focus on, you know, just making the game good, making it good, and they did. They made it real good. Visually, it's stunning. I believe it's, maybe this is just because I remember how bad it used to look. Well, not bad, but I remember the limitations of the 64. But it's on par with pretty much any other game on the 3DS right now. I mean, it shows its age in general because it's a bit more polygon, but a lot of stuff used to just be textured. Like, the only one that really still stands out is mouths. Link's specifically is a texture and it's not modeled. But other than little stuff like that, you know, eyes are kind of textured. But a lot of Link's clothing is modeled now. The Gilded Sword actually has some raised edges on it. That looks good. You know, the textures are sharper now. Yeah, we're a bit out of range. The textures are sharper now, so you can make out a lot of the details on stuff easier. Like, what was it? I think it was the Great Fairy Sword. I could never really tell what was on it. It just looked like a purple blob. And keep in mind, I was seeing an emulated version of it, so, you know, there's just corners that were cut because of hardware limitations that they've really gone back and tooled. You can tell that someone who really loved this game went back and with the new and just really polished it up, and it really shines, and I love it so much. I've heard, I know Vinny made this statement, and I try not to hold him to a lot of things he says on stream because he is just kind of BSing, or you know, he's not necessarily thinking about everything he's saying. He made the comment that it was easier. I don't disagree with that, but I don't think they went back and down the difficulty. I think what happened was the controls feel a lot better now. Like, I remember, I have vivid memories of the controls feeling stiff when I was a kid. Specifically, swimming as a Zora, just being really stiff and unwieldy and just really, and, you know, just that being retooled and done better, where just the swimming mechanics feel better, makes the game feel easier. Oh, come on. The screw attack is kind of moody. I have fallen for that before, if you're wondering why I stopped. Because I am impatient. So yeah, really, really love. The remake feels really good. Kudos to Grezzo and everyone who worked on it. They really took that. I think Majora's Mask is now reasserted itself as one of my favorite Zelda titles, just because of the world. It's one of my favorite Zelda worlds. I still think Wind Waker will always be one of my favorites because it was the first one I really sat down with. Minish Cap too. I don't know. Zelda's just got such a likable quality to it. And I remember approaching, I think that the biggest thing is, like, it came out so infrequently. Like, it was like, what, once a console generation or whatever. But to the point where every time a new one would come out, I'd be at like a different stage of maturity or understanding or whatever. So, like, different Zeldas are my favorites for different reasons. Wind Waker and Minish Cap were some of my favorites. Wind Waker, my first real big one that I sat down with. While Minish Cap was my first top-down one that I really sat down with.
A reconnaissance plane has discovered the location of the missing flagship Valhalla. As I am sure you are aware,
I'm not.
this vessel was attacked by pirates 5 months ago.
Oh wait, yeah, they did talk about that.
We request that you investigate the Valhalla for any information about the pirates in the master plan.
We will be doing that very last,
The coordinates to you now.
because there's no reason to do that yet. Because you can't complete it without collecting energy cells, and you can't get them until much later in the game. Valhalla is one of the last things you do before endgame. Valhalla. Trying to decide whether to... No, we'll clean up later. Because we've had to do this giant cleanup later, and we'll just worry about it all then. Back to Elysia for now. Where was I? Oh yeah, Twilight Princess holds a special place in my heart. That was my first Wii game. And it's one of the first Zelda games that I got, like... I got the most out of it on my own. I guess is the easiest way to explain that. Like, I don't think I finished Wind Waker my first time through. Let's put it this way, Twilight Princess is the first one that I sat down and finished the first time I played it without too much outside help. Because I got it at launch, so there really wasn't a lot of outside help. I think I needed help with the Snowhead Temple, or whatever it was called. The Yeti's house. But other than that, I pretty much figured out and finished that one on my own. And that was my first one that I figured out and finished on my own. And I will always love it for that. Sky Temple still kind of sucks though. But whatever. This isn't where I wanted to be. Oops. We'll just I'm just gonna slide back in here real quick. We're just off to a flying star here, aren't we? I've yet to play Skyward. I still want to. Like, I've heard a lot of opinions and I want to form my own. Some people say it's amazing, some people say it's crap, some people say it's okay. The way people go on about the town being the best part, though, makes me think of Majora, and that's part of the reason it makes me want to play it. Like, they tried to go for that feel again. I don't know gameplay-wise, I know nothing about the game except motion controls, and then I know some of the characters because Hyrule Warriors, and I know some of the story because it's been out for, like, what, 6 years? It's been out forever, and I've yet to play it, and I feel bad about that. It's one of the only Zelda titles, now that I've caught up with Link Between Worlds. Well, no, I can't say that, because I never owned Spirit Tracks, and I kind of don't plan to ever. I tried to play Phantom Hourglass, and I got really far, but, like, I was not a fan of the controls. It's too hectic, in my opinion, to have a Zelda game where there's stuff going on and you need to see the screen, but you have to, like, obscure that screen with your hand while you swipe furiously away at it so that you can use your sword, and it just, I'd get in my own way. I couldn't figure it, like, you know. And then the freaking, dungeon that you had to go back to over and over and over, and every time you got a little deeper with it. It was cool in concept, but no, that's not what I want to do. But then they put the timer on it, and yeah, there were shortcuts, but my god, it was just too much going on, and I never finished that game. I got pretty far. I think it was like the 6th time I had to go back to the freaking thing and do the same dungeon again, that I finally got fed up with it. And then I just never owned Spirit Tracks. It was like, you know, they were just like, it's like Phantom Hourglass. And I'm like, I'm good. But Link Between Worlds was really good. And, like I said, Minish Cap was pretty much the only top-down Zelda I was a fan of. I've tried to play Link Between Worlds, and don't get me wrong, I think I've mentioned this before, 9 times out of 10 when I say I don't like a game, it's usually because I'm bad at it. Like, a few times there are, but a lot of times the game is not really at fault. I'm just bad at it and I can't play it, and so I don't like it. You know, that happens sometimes. Where my own limitations with the game affect my opinion. And, you know, that's not the game's fault, and I try not to be hard on games that I don't like for that reason. Now, if games give me a reason not to like them, fine. Like, Other M, I bring that up because I'm looking at a superior Metroid game right now. Flat out didn't work. Like, the controls, I don't know. It didn't feel good. Yeah, it probably could have worked had I, you know, but it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel challenging. It felt unfair. And again, I'm sure that had it not been a Metroid game, I probably would have given it a bit more of a chance. But on top of, you know, it basically crapping all over a character like Samus, I didn't want to waste my time with it anymore. It's like a lot of, and I've heard a lot of people make the Other M comparison with the new Tomb Raider game. I watched somebody play some of that, and I don't think, I guess I don't really have as much of an opinion on it as many people, because I didn't play Tomb Raider growing up. The PS2 was the first Sony system I owned, and I never really played. I can't even remember if there were Tomb Raider games. If there were, I didn't play them. It just wasn't the type of game I was into. To be perfectly honest, I live in a remote part of Georgia, and John's kind of my only real gaming friend. And if he wasn't into it, and I didn't find it on my own, I probably didn't hear of it. So Tomb Raider was one of those series that I was unaware of for the longest. I might have played it, but then again, I'm also the kid that was too impatient for Zelda until I was like 14. So I don't know that I would have gotten that far in it. When I was a kid, I liked immediately gratifying games. So if it didn't, you know, like if it cut me off early, I was probably done with it. Is that thing in hyper mode? No. They didn't do that, did they? Okay, what are we doing here? Let's see. The pirate skiff out there. I'm going to keep checking these windows because I don't remember how to get that missile expansion. But I want it. Oops, sorry. Ow. I fell. Good. Well, that thing went down a lot easier. Ah. Spider Ball is soon, I think. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's on this planet, but it's not soon. I cannot get it until after I've started the next planet. Oh, they're armored now? Actually, I probably need to scan that then. Yep. He exploded. Let's see. Do I remember what to do here? I don't think I can activate this yet. We'll see though. Let's see. Ooh. Okay, so this is something that happened last time and it's happened again. On my small monitor setup, I can actually see some of my wallpaper because I've got the capture program running and I can't resize that window, so it doesn't take up the full screen. And then underneath it, I've got Audacity. Matter of fact, hang on, let's see if I can screen cap this real quick. Yeah. All right. Now I'm just gonna remember to. So like, I'll pause it for a second. I'll talk about it. So yeah, this is what my background is while I'm recording, and at least that's what my small monitor looks like while I'm recording, and so like I've got like a rotating wallpaper up, and I glanced over and saw the moon and freaked out a little bit. I did not. If you've watched my Prime 2 stuff, the first few episodes I talked about how I immersed myself in a game world. And I think I mentioned, taking time to decompress afterwards. I did not do that today with Majora's Mask, so like I've still got kind of the mindset going. So yeah, that moon's got me on edge. Okay. It's fun. It's totally fun. Okay, let's see here. Good. I don't think I can get to that yet. So I'm just going to leave that alone. I hope I don't forget to do that whole background thing. Okay, we'll just go ahead and keep missing, that's fine. Is her eye black? I don't know why I did that. No. I don't know, it's hard to tell. I think just the outer rim is darker now. Hello, Fezon.